Hello, folks, and welcome to another Archeryshack Shop Talk podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm TJ.
We're on podcast 39, and we're back. Whether you want us to be or not, we're back. And as always, if you need a custom bowstring, check out archeryshackstrings.com. Enter the code word or the discount code at the end of the checkout process, podcast 15, get 15% off your string sets. We got some new t-shirts we've been putting on there. I'll put the link below. If you look back at our live feed, the one that said something about live action from 2 Thursdays ago, we both had them on, lime green, Archeryshack logo front and back. We got them on there for about $12. And if you know anybody that has a hookup with some cheap blank t-shirts, let us know, because I feel like we could do them cheaper. I just hadn't found a decent quality t-shirt that's super cheap yet.
Yeah.
So let us know if you know about that. But anyway, get on there, check out strings and t-shirts and whatever you need. Today, we wanted to talk about something we get a lot of questions about, and that is either A, I want to get into archery, what bow should I get, or B, I've got a certain amount of money, what would be a good bow for that amount of money? And I was like, this would be a good topic because we get it all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes we talk at a little bit higher level of just, it's my fault. I feel like I'm talking to people that have bow hunted all their life, and I know there's a lot of people that watch us that are just getting into it and don't have a clue sometimes what we're talking about, and I'm sorry. But let's start at the complete bottom of I want to get into archery, I want to buy a recurve, and I want to spend very little money. And for that, the Samick Sage is the way to go as far as a new recurve.
Yeah.
Most popular recurve out there, you can get it in different poundages and stuff. And for between $130 and $150, you can get the recurve, a glove, a couple arrows, the whole 9 yards. So I've done a video on them. If you look back, and it wasn't it was one where we restrung one and kind of played with it through the paper. But Samick Sage, a good one. Let's talk to them about poundages.
Yeah. If you're just getting into it, as far as male, I would, let's say from about 17 and up, starting out or anything, you probably want to stay between 30 and 40 pounds. I wouldn't want to go, they make them all the way up to, I think somebody said they had a 60 pounder.
Yeah.
But, with a recurve, there's no cams, no let off, anything. So you're holding whatever you're drawing.
And you want to hit your anchor point, which means you want to get it all the way back to your face.
Yeah.
So I'm with TJ, about a 35 pounder.
Mm-hmm.
If you're starting off for an adult male, 35, 40 pounds, try that first. For a female, I'd probably stick between 20 and 30. For a kid, according to their age, 15 to 25. Because you definitely don't want whoever it is, whether it's you or whether it's your kid or wife or whatever, you don't want them to get something and hate it because they struggle with it.
Yeah.
So I'd rather it be easier, let them love it, and then upgrade later than be like, this thing kills my shoulders and I hit my arm and all this stuff. So that's just a suggestion from us. But the Samick Sage is a good one.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about the Matthews Genesis. It's a good one. It's what they use in the school programs, 20-pound max. It's got cams. It's got the wheels on it, but no let-off. You pull it back to 30 inches with 0 let-off. Good. To me, it's a good family bow. Like,
yeah,
you could shoot it. The wife could shoot it. The kid could shoot it if you wanted to just buy one bow and play in the yard with.
Yeah, definitely, and I think their price, I think the Genesis starts out as a package is around $200, maybe just a little over $200.
Yeah, and I think that comes with arrows, the bow, the whole 9 yards, ready to roll. And you can find them used,
Oh, yeah.
Now, you can also find used recurve bows, wooden bows in pawn shops for $50 to $100. Not a bad idea. Just look at them, make sure the wood's not cracked, and you want to look down the bow and what they call the limb, if you're not familiar, L-I-M-B, it's the ends of the bow. It's what bends back when you draw it. If people leave them strung up and get them in the heat, or if they string them incorrectly, it'll warp that limb and ultimately cause a bow failure. So just look down it, make sure it looks straight before you buy it. But there's a ton of old names out there. You can find recurves from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, for $50, $60 at pawn shops. So, Bear, Ben Pearson,
Martin,
all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
but those are not, if you're just playing in the yard, or I mean, you can hunt with them, don't get me wrong, but I'm just in general talking about those. That's not a bad idea. So now, let's talk about the guy that wants to spend. I'm almost say that you could get into archery for around $100, but you're going to end up with a old bow with hardly any let off that's probably not going to fit you and that sort of thing, unless you got somebody that's got a decent bow and is like, here, give me $100.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, sort of an okay bow is going to start at around $150 just from what I've seen, and you're going to be getting into some late 90s, early 2000 bows. Now, these bows are not going to be super adjustable. You may have to change a cam to adjust them, or they may have like an inch or so of draw length adjustment on the cam by moving the string, which you need to take it to a shop and let them do. But first of all, you need to check your draw length. The easiest way to do that, if you don't know, if you're just getting into this, is hold your arms out, do a wingspan measurement from tip to tip, birdie to birdie, divide it by 2.5, and that's going to give you a pretty dang close guesstimation of your draw length.
Yep.
So most people are going to be, an adult male is going to be between 27 and 31. Most are between 28 and 29. So that's one thing to take into consideration. We've had people buy bows and say, oh, I got this great deal. And we're like, that's a great bow, but it don't fit you. And to order a cam for this bow, it's another $150 or whatever they cost. So it's like, ooh, that kind of let the air out of the deal.
Yeah.
So check your draw length. Know what that is. Let's talk about poundage before we start naming off models. On an adult male compound bow, you're going to be looking at between 50 and 70 pounds. 70's on the higher end, 60's sort of in the middle, 50's on the lower end, just according to what you're wanting to do. A lot of hunters shoot between 60 and 70. A lot of backyard and tournament folks shoot lower in the 50's. For a lady, you're going to probably be looking between 30 and 40 pounds on average. And according to what age the kid is, you're looking at 20 to 40 pounds just according to how old they are. So figure out your draw length. That'll be a first big thing. If you got somebody, you can kind of test their bow and see what you feel comfortable pulling. Now, every bow is adjustable, meaning you can back there at the end of the limbs, like we talked about earlier, the things that flex when you pull the bow back. And I'm sorry for the more advanced people that normally watch this, and you're thinking this is all kind of not as high tech as y'all normally talk. We just wanted to talk to some of these other folks today for a little bit, and we'll get into some more stuff in a little while. But the limbs are adjustable by means of a bolt through the end of the limb, and usually according to the model, you got to do them even, let each one off, and you'll get 3, 4, 5 pounds off of it. But usually, as a rule of thumb, they're adjustable 10 pounds down from whatever they're listed as. So if it's a 70-pound bow, it'll go down to 60. Some of the newer stuff will go further than that. But if you're unsure, just as a rule of thumb, think it'll go down 10 pounds.
But most of the bows in that late 90s, early 2000s, most turns that you can take out of a limb bolt on, just say 4 turns out. And what a lot of people will do is they will take a silver Sharpie. I wish I had a limb and a bolt where I could but they wouldn't be able to see it. And they will draw a line just off the bolt and the little cup that it sits in.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you put your Allen wrench in and you turn it counterclockwise, and those 2 marks that you made line up, that's one complete turn.
Yeah.
And so before you do all that, turn it clockwise, max
all
it
the way
out.
Down, yep.
I mean, you can't turn it no more. Then draw your line, and then back it off. 4 turns is probably safe, and that'll get you roughly your 10 pounds of adjustment.
If you can look up an owner's manual of whatever bow you end up with, it'll tell you, you can go 4. I mean, like some of the newer bows, you can go like 13 to 20 turns off, but that's not these older bows we're fixing to talk about. The limb will come off and you'll get hurt. So, and of course, always, if you got a local shop, just go there and they can lead you in the right direction.
Yeah.
We're just trying to throw out a few ideas here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, so at $100, you're probably either getting a super old 70s or 80s model bow It's not going to be that shooter friendly. The draw links are usually not adjustable, and it's very little let off. But
and you're also running into problem of what we call on the cables being metals or steel cables.
It'll be metal, but it's got a plastic coating on it.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't make them anymore. So if they break, you're done.
Yeah.
But we're also talking about a $50 bow at this point, so it's not a huge loss. So let's go to $150, and I'm not saying look for this exact bow. I'm just going to rattle off a few bows that I've seen for about that price that are okay. You know, if I was looking for a $150 bow, I would look. You're going to be in the late 90s, early 2000s most likely, unless you just find a super killer deal.
Mm-hmm.
But like an older Matthews, Feathermax, Ultramax, MQ1, those are all made by Matthews. Now again, none of these are going to have unless you're the original owner, you're not going to get a warranty with them. So at this price, if they break, it's probably better to just chunk them versus limbs are going to cost you between $150, $200. But that's worst case scenario. Hopefully nothing happens to it. You know, PSE's got a ton of bows from that time period, the different Novas, all sorts of stuff. I'm trying to think. The Buckmaster bow was very popular from that time period, and it's probably about that price range. And most of these bows are only adjustable about an inch draw length. What else am I missing?
Yeah, because let's see. What about some Bowtechs?
They didn't come into play till about 2005. But
okay.
I might get to them when we bump up a notch.
Man, you still got some of your Martins out there.
Yeah.
That from that time frame. High Countries would still be out there. I don't know how many of them would be out there.
Yeah.
But you could run into some High Country, some Martins, Matthews,
a few
PSE.
Bears, a few Jennings, that type of thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can think of in that price range to run from. You know, if you see this bow, don't get it. But again, be buddies with your local shop or somebody that has shot, and they can kind of lead you in the right direction. And like I say, most of these bows you're not going to find parts for. So look it over. Make sure you don't see any splinters in the limbs or anything crazy going on.
Yeah.
Worst case, you may have to put a string on it, and it's just according to the bow what that's going to cost. Let's bump up a little bit to around the $200 to $250 range. You're going to get on into the 2000s, up to the mid-2000s, maybe a little past that. And that's where you're going to get into some Bowtech stuff.
Yeah.
You got your Constitutions, Admiral, the Captain. Those were all pretty decent bows. And the Matthews, you're going to get up into the Q2s. Maybe, if you're lucky, into the Switchback XT for the $250 price range.
Outback.
Those are all early to mid-2000 bows that are good.
Well, you can even go into the LXs,
maybe a Legacy.
You know, you could be in that price range, just depends. But a lot of those bows people still have because
they were solid. Yeah.
And so, you know, if you run up on one of them for about $250, you may want to jump on it.
And the Hoyts, you're getting into like the Cyber Tech, or the what I call the tech years. They had a bunch of bows with tech behind them, and they started getting into the cam and a half stuff. The ZR200, all kinds of stuff. The Redline cam and all that was popular at this point. Hoyt's a good bow. Matthews is a good bow. Bowtech's a good bow. Bear had some pretty nice bows out. PSE had a ton of bows out. The PSE had so many I couldn't even name them all.
I know.
But that's just an idea. So let's bump on up into the $350. If I was feeling like I was gonna get into it and not just test it and maybe not shoot, I'd probably get into the $300 to $400 price range out of the gate. If that's, you know, if I wanted to stay sort of cheap.
Yeah.
Because when you get $350, you got kind of two options. All right, you can get a 6 to 10 year old high end bow that's now older but was the very top of the line back then, or you're moving on into the beginner level brand new bows, and there's pluses and minuses to both of them. You know, the beginner brand new bow is going to have a warranty. That's a big plus.
Yeah.
To the original owner. You're going to have everything new. If something happens, you take it back, it gets fixed. But, you get some almost around, or let's say around the 2010 mark, and at this point that's 10 years old, but still there were some nice bows that are still nice bows that came out then. You know what I mean? You're getting up into the
switchbacks like we talked about, XTs, the Adrenalines.
You're getting almost into the Z7 Extreme years from Matthews, and a ton of people still shoot those bows.
Yep.
You're getting into the PSC Axe years, which were some fast bows that looked cool and shot decent.
Well, I'm trying to think of the Hoyts that were around that time too.
You're getting into like the CRX 32s, the Maxis years. You're getting on up into that time frame now, for around the 350-ish price range. And there's a lot of people at this price range, they'll have a nice bow that's 5 to 10 years old, and they just quit shooting. And if you can find it on Marketplace or Craigslist or eBay or whatever, they're just wanting to dump it. And it's a good bow. And it'll be even newer than what we're talking about. But if I was looking, the Matthews, one of their best-selling bows from Matthews was the Z7 Extreme, and it's a little 28-inch bow that shoots great, 80% let off. A lot of people still shoot them. And I think it was, a 2011 bow or something like that? I
think so.
I've seen a few of them floating for between 3 and 4. I'd be looking into that.
Well, before we jump over to the newer stuff, or new bows, if you're looking at it, because in that time frame, Matthews is a solo cam bow, and they're a fixed draw cam. Yeah. So what that means is if you're looking at it and it's a 28-inch draw, that's what it is. It's 28. You can't adjust that draw length unless you buy another cam.
Yeah, and you can't adjust it at all.
Yeah.
And a cam from a dealer is going to cost you between $1 and $150.
Mm-hmm.
Now you might find them. I've seen them on eBay and stuff for cheaper, for $50 and even $35, but it's hard to find them.
Yeah.
So like I said, measure that draw length, make sure you get what you need.
And your Hoyts, I know in that Mac or Matrix series they had the modules on it. So be careful because they have
the modules. If you see a bow and it says you can change draw length with modules, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But you're also you're probably looking, according to the bow, let's say between $30 and $50 to change the draw length. Now, some of the Hoyts, and this gets a little complicated, I don't want to confuse everybody, but they got different cams, numbers that take different modules that go to different lengths. So like a number 1 cam is meant for a shorter draw, and then there's modules within that number 1 cam, and then there's a 2 and 3 cam. So like if you bought a number 1 cam and you were a 30-inch draw, it's not going to work. You're going to spend more money than it's worth,
Yeah.
So just best thing is figure out what your draw length is and look for that particular draw length. Let's bump up to about $400. And now we're at definitely a crossroads. At $400, there's some nice package bows that you can get brand new with a warranty, or there's some 5-year-old bows that were $1,200 bows 5 years ago that you can get. So let's start with package bows. Some of the most popular stuff out there is your Diamond SB1 and your Diamond Infinite Edge. They're adjustable from a super low poundage to a high poundage. The draw length is hugely adjustable. A kid could shoot it, a mama could shoot it, a daddy could shoot it. Yep. I mean, literally. Now, it's not like you're going to snap your finger and switch it. You got to do some tinkering on what they call the modules and rotate them and move them and that sort of thing. But those are hugely popular.
Yeah.
PSC had some bows called Stingers, and they still do. It's called the Stinger Max. Hugely adjustable, very popular. Mission has a bunch of bows. The Craze was a huge Mission bow, sales-wise. Easily adjustable, same thing. Bear's got a brand new bow called a Cruiser G2. For $400 you get it with a sight and a stabilizer and a rest and quiver and a whole 9 yards, ready to go out the door. $400. There's a ton of them out there.
Yeah.
What I would steer clear of, to be honest with you, is there's some new bows from China popping up, and we've tinkered with a few of them, and they are pretty much junk. They're mostly sold on Amazon. I can't even think of any names of them right now, and I mean, I don't want to whatever, get in trouble for saying this is junk, but if you see a bow on Amazon that's not a big name brand like Bear, PSE, Matthews, Mission, Hoyt, anything, it's some weird name, it's probably one of those. We had one in, a month or two ago?
Yeah.
And it was supposedly a newer Chinese bow off Amazon. And when we pressed it, the whole top cam would shift left to right. I mean, and there's nothing we could do to fix it. It's not a normal part. It was a big brass bushing in the middle of it. I guess they made it that way just to make it cheap. And I told the guy, it's shootable. We've shot it. I wouldn't shoot it a whole lot because she's going to come apart.
Yep.
Some of the higher end, if you want to call it that, China bows I've messed with have a lot of shock to them and they're loud. So stay away from those. That's just my opinion.
Yep.
What else at around $400, TJ? I'm trying to think.
I know we just sit here and say don't buy a Chinese bow, but you have the dye bows.
To me, that's the one exception.
Yeah, because those are decent bows. They actually shoot really good, and
they're made in China, but they're marketed and shipped over here to the United States, and a company called 30-06 Outdoors, I guess you'd say, sells them over here. And we've shot them, we've tinkered with them.
Yeah.
A couple of them, the machining looked a little rough, but as far as the shooting of the bow, it was decent.
Yeah.
And I think for $500, $600, $700 is sort of their range. Well, I think there's some cheaper.
Yeah, I think they had one that come in right at $400, but that was bare bow. That wasn't a package. Whereas, like you said, the SB1s, the Cruiser G2s, and even the Species, wasn't it?
The Species, I think, it was $400, wasn't it?
Yeah. The Bear Species, man, there for a while we couldn't keep them in.
Yeah, and I just think the big advantage once you get to $350, $400 is that warranty.
Yeah.
You get a bow, it's brand new. If a limb cracks, which means the flexing part of the bow, they're made of fiberglass. If something happens, you take it back, it gets fixed for free. You know what I mean? You still got to put strings and cables on it every couple of years, but other than that, you're ready to roll. So, and then once you get above that price range, once you get in the $500-$600 range, you still got two options. You can get a middle of the road bow that's a good shooting bow, brand new, or you can get a 3-year-old top of the line bow that's used, but 3 years ago was like a $1,200-$1,500 bow.
Yeah.
Just according to a lot of people want a Matthews, but they don't want to spend the new price on a Matthews. So you wait a couple years,
or a Hoyt.
Or a Hoyt, yeah. You wait a couple years and you can buy one for almost half price, and you're getting in that $500-$600 price range. So, but you don't get the warranty. So you're taking a little bit of a risk, but that's probably an okay risk. Because when I say a limb crack, that's something we only see every blue moon. It's not a common thing, and a lot of times people leave them in a hot car or do something bad to make it happen.
Yeah.
So, and then, we can go on up. Once you get to the $1,000 to $1,500 range, go buy you a top end, top of the line. Go shoot them all. Shoot your primes, your Matthews, your Hoyts, your Bears, your whatever, and then say, all right, I think this is the one I want. And be careful, because you'll go to some shops, we hear it around here, and they'll really be pushing for you to buy a particular bow. And I feel like when we go to these shows, we shoot them side by side, literally side by. We walk 10 foot and shoot one, 10 foot, the next one, different brand. And sometimes we've taken little notepads and made notes of, I felt this and that one, this one, But when you go from shop to shop and you ride an hour or two between shops, you may just get to, and there's nothing wrong with this, you may get to a shop and be like, I really like that guy, and he seems like a good dude. I'm going to listen to him, but the bow may not shoot better, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I've heard and seen that before. Somebody be like, man, that guy, he really crammed that down my throat. And we don't do that here.
No.
We've told people we probably are the worst salesmen in the world, because we'll be like, listen, if you want to try Matthews, ride right down the road and see what but because we don't carry them, but maybe we need to be better salesmen, but not really.
Well, and once you do get up into that, let's say $900 to $1,500 plus price range, like before I started working at Bucks and Bass, I'd go in there and, when the new Matthews come out, you and Dave and Rusty and everybody, they just let you shoot the bow.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much those bows sold themselves.
To me, that's the best experience you can have. Like, we got 30 bows hanging in here. A guy comes in, we always ask what kind of price range you in, because like if he's wanting to spend $400, I don't want to be handing him a $1,200 bow.
Yeah.
And I'm not really much of, I'm gonna upsell him to $1,000. No,
No.
whatever he wants to. So I'll say, all right, we got these 6 bows at around the $400 range. Let's take them over here and shoot them, and then you decide.
Yeah.
And me as a consumer, that's the way I want to be treated. And I may ask for a little guidance, like on which one of these is the best seller, or in your opinion, what do you think? And I may or may not, use that information, but that's the way I like it. But
yeah, just like you say, you walk into a shop and they've got the 3 big names hanging up, or 2 big names, and they're pushing you towards that bow.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I do not like to be pushed as far. That's why I don't buy. That's why I don't like going to car lots.
Yeah.
To buy a car, truck, or whatever.
Yeah.
I do my research and I go there.
Well, and the internet's so big now.
Yeah.
Before even a bow, before I buy a bow, I can get online and see all the good, the bad, the whatever.
Yeah.
But
anyway. I mean, if you're a local person and you come in and you say, okay, that's the first question we're going to ask.
Yeah.
What are you looking to spend? And we're going to work with you to get in that price range.
Yeah.
We're not going to sit there and say, nah, you don't need that. Let's go over here and sell you one of these $1,200 bows.
Yeah.
Because that customer's going to walk out the door and he's going to go tell everybody that he knows, don't go back down there to them boys, because they're just trying to push you to buy the highest price thing they got.
And that word gets out quick.
Yes, it does.
Let's talk arrows. We sort of covered bows. Now, if you have a question about a bow you want to buy, feel free to put it in the comments. And I know lately we get so many comments. I've been slipping on some, but we'll try our best to answer. Or you can also email us, and we'll try to help you any way we can. But let's talk about arrows. So, long time ago, aluminum arrows were the only arrows out there. I mean, a long, long time ago we had wood, but I'm talking about in compound years, aluminum arrows were it. And then, in the mid to late 90s, carbon arrows came out. Graphite, carbon, whatever you want to call them. And at first, they were a little sketchy because they wasn't as straight and they splintered easy and all this. But now, carbon is it. You can hardly find an aluminum arrow. So pretty much anybody out there, carbon arrow is the way to go. And again, get a reputable company. Easton, Black Eagle, Gold Tip, Victory.
Yep.
I'm missing some, but there's a lot of China arrows on eBay and Amazon. Be careful. If it's something, it's not normal, I don't want you to get hurt. You know what I mean? Because if they're not made properly, they can splinter and explode, and they'll go in your hand or whatever. You want to look at what they call a spine chart and say, you can look and say, all right, my arrow is going to be 29 inches long and I'm shooting 55 pounds. This is what I need to shoot. In other words, you don't want to shoot too lightweight of an arrow out of a bow because it'll cause it to come apart.
Mm-hmm. And Gold Tip, and I know Gold Tip has it, but does Easton have? You can actually go on Gold Tip's website, and they've got a calculator that you can go in and say, okay, I got a 29-inch arrow length. I'm shooting 55 pounds. And it will show you the spine, and it also, I believe, will give you the options of what errors, like, velocities,
Hunter XT.
Hunter XT is the big one.
Stuff. But yeah.
I drew a blank on Gold Tips. That's bad.
But yeah, I mean, just get the right spine, and they're pretty much, let's say a 6-pack of carbon arrows, you're going to spend anywhere from $35 to really as much as you want to spend. I mean, there's some high-end stuff you could spend over $100 on 6, but let's think of what else. As far as sights go, if you're just getting into archery, fiber optic sights has been around for quite a while. That's what you're looking for, which just means the pin glows. You know what I mean? It's not painted with a marker or anything. It glows, has fiber optic material ran through it. An arrow rest, which is what holds your arrow. There's a bunch of good ones. There's a Whisker Biscuit. It's a great for a beginner because it's a round bristle thing that holds your arrow. It can't fall out of it. I would recommend that if you're a beginner.
Yeah, I would too.
There's what they call drop away rests that fall out of the way when you shoot. Those are great. There's a million of them out there now.
Yeah.
Stabilizer, which is if you're new, again, I'm sorry to the folks that are thinking this is boring because you're we don't usually talk beginner archery, but we had a lot of questions. I just thought this would be a good one. So maybe I'll put a disclaimer in the description of some of our usual folks may not like this, but stabilizer is the thing that mounts on the bottom third of the bow. It looks like it sticks out 6 or 8 inches, and what it does is it helps balance the bow. And in recent years, or in the past 20 years, they put usually some kind of rubber on it to absorb some hand shock from the bow.
Yeah.
And it's 100% preference. If you want a bow that's front heavy, use a longer one or heavier one. Some people don't even shoot one. You don't have to have it.
Yeah.
You're looking at $20 to $100 for one of those. And then Peep Sights, that's the thing that goes in the string. You pull back. That's what you're looking through to line your pin up with. There's a million different Peep Sights, but you don't want to get too small of a Peep Sight because it'll be hard to see. But also, if you get a huge one, like a 5/16, which is big, you'll have a hard time centering up everything. So like a 3/16 or a 1/4 inch is real common.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of the plastic ones because they can chip and break, and it's just preference. So
Yeah.
your quiver, you're looking at $20 to $150.
Yeah.
And that's what holds your arrows. It clips on the bow. Usually it's got a quick release thing, pops right off, piece of cake. Just, a plastic one, to me, a plastic one's fine for that because I take it off my bow when I shoot. So it's up to you.
Yeah. And also be sure, too, if you're just getting into archery, always make sure on your arrows that you have a field tip screwed into them. If you're just practicing in the yard, do not try to shoot one without a field tip. It'll be a bad day.
And then your broadheads, of course, you can shoot broadheads in your yard if you want. There's really no need. They're meant to kill an animal type thing. I usually shoot them a time or two to make sure they shoot right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to go to a local archery club, we've experienced this. New people come. It's not you're not supposed to shoot broadheads at the 3D targets at like a club or a course or whatever, mainly because it tears the targets up quicker. But a lot of people don't know that, you know what I mean? So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah.
A release, which is what's going to go around your arm or you're going to hold in your hand to shoot the bow. Finger shooters, there's a few still around here. But really about 20 to 30 years ago, that sort of went away. Of course, if you're shooting a recurve, you're shooting with your fingers.
Yeah.
But a compound bow, a release. You got 2 options. You got a handheld release that you hold on to and hit a button, or you got one that goes around your wrist, stays there, and you got a trigger. Most new folks are going to use the wrist strap.
Yep.
And again, they're between $20 and $200. I don't know. I mean, for $20, they're okay. But if you could spend $40 or $50, you could get into a lot better release versus a $20 one that you don't have to worry about failing or anything. That works better.
And we see this a lot with new shooters and everything, especially when they go to draw the bow. They'll want to take that finger and put on the trigger as they draw. And that's, if you ever been to our shop or whatnot, we need to take a picture one day and put it on here so they can see. But we have an arrow stuck in our roof out here where a guy had did that. He was drawing his bow and his finger was in front of the trigger and he hits it.
Punched himself in the nose.
Yeah.
Sent an arrow into the roof that we can't get out. We just left it to tell people, hey, don't put your finger in front. Keep it behind there.
Yeah.
Get it to full draw. Get on the target. You're safe then.
Yeah.
Then don't hammer the release. Then just lay your finger on it and I'm ready. At this point, I'm on the target. I'm safe. I'm ready to shoot. Let me aim.
It's pretty much, most everybody has shot a .22 rifle or, a BB gun. You don't never put your finger on that trigger until you're on target ready to shoot.
Yep.
Then you knock the safety off. Well, your finger behind that trigger is your safety.
Yep.
So
agreed. I mean, you could send an arrow. Believe it or not, a bow at half draw shot, the arrow can go a couple 100 yards. You know what I mean?
Yes, it can.
You can hit a house. You can hit a person. So, and most people draw their bow at a little bit of an upward angle, so there's no telling where it'll go.
Yeah.
But yeah, release. If you could get in that $40 to $60 range, you're gonna get a decent wrist strap release.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of big name, Scott, True Ball, B3. There's just a couple. Fletcher. That's just a couple to throw out there to look for. But that's the main stuff of a bow, and we kind of went over the price ranges and that sort of thing. A bow case is not bad to have, whether it's a soft or hard one. You'll find a sale every now and then and find a hard case for $40 or $50. It's probably worth getting because you can kind of beat it around and it won't hurt the bow.
Yeah.
Don't leave a bow in a hot car.
Lord, no.
People bring them in. It'll mess up your limbs. It'll stretch out your strings and cables. All sorts of bad stuff will happen. Don't do it. If you're taking it to work, if take it in or do something, but don't leave it out there. I'm telling you, I took a picture last year, but I don't think I ever posted it. A guy brought a bow in and we could barely hold it.
Yeah, it was so hot.
I got one of those infrared heat checker things, and it was like 150 degrees or something. And if somebody brings one in like that, we listen, it's going to sit here for a while till it cools down, because not only have you heard it or possibly heard it, if we pull it back right now, there's a lot of bad stuff that could happen.
Yeah.
So, and then people were like, well, it was in my case. Well, the case got hot in the car too, you know. So that's a big thing. Let's switch over just a little bit, and let's talk about crossbows price ranges. You know, let's say sub $200, you're going to be looking at your Barnett Quad 400, probably their best-selling crossbow they've ever sold, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many variations of the Quad 400. It started out as an old-school spray-painted looking camo all the way up, and I don't know how many years they made it, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
The newer ones have like black limbs and a mossy oak pattern, I think, but you can find one of them for about $200 or less. Good bow. Be careful with it. Crossbow safety real quick. Always keep your fingers below the rail so the string don't hit it.
Yep.
And always, once you get it cocked and get a bolt in it, which is the arrow for a crossbow, keep it pointed in a safe direction. In most of them, the safety clicks on once you cock it until you turn it off.
Yep.
But Quad 400, that's probably the most popular one you're going to see for under $200. There's a bunch of other ones. You may see
a Jackal,
which was popular and a decent one. You might see some of the first editions of the Raptor FX.
Yeah, or
the first PSE Fangs.
Yep.
And maybe some of the Centerpoint models. There's a million of them that they've made.
Yeah. I think their biggest seller is that Sniper 370.
Yeah. You could probably find one used for under $200. When you get into $300 and $400, you're back at that entry-level crossbow stuff. You know, Bear makes a lot of them. They make the Saga
405.
Yeah, and it retails for $4.
And then you got the Intense, which is the brand new model for this year, and it retails for $400.
Yeah.
And that's a complete package. I mean, it comes with the scope,
quiver,
3 bolts,
sling.
The Intense don't come with a sling.
It don't. Okay. And you're also looking at like the Centerpoint Sniper. They've renamed it over the years. I think it was like the Whisper something 370, and but it's going to be the Centerpoint always has one around that $300 range.
Yeah, they do.
Bear always has them around that range. Barnett always has them around that range. They keep coming out with new Raptors and new different models, and they're all good stuff. And then, you know, once you get more expensive, to me, you got the $500 to $800 bows, crossbows, you know, and you're getting into a decent crossbow. And then if you want to go ultra nice, you're going to hunt with a crossbow a lot and shoot it a lot. You get into like the Mission Sub 1, the Raven, the 10-point high-end stuff. And don't forget the Excaliburs, which are recurve crossbows, and they can get up into around, you know, into the $1,000 range. But I like them because they're simple. It's a recurve design, no cams. They don't get any simpler. So,
and if you go and check out, if you're looking at Excaliburs, check out Steambow. You can just type in Steambow on YouTube.
If nothing else, just watch it.
It's worth watching.
It's a CO2 system that cocks the bow for you. It's wild. It's expensive, but it's wild.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of crossbows in a nutshell. And again, you're going to probably be looking at carbon bolts or arrows for it. And then scopes can vary, you know, from a simple crosshair system to a illuminated scope to a red dot to all kinds of stuff. So it's just according to how much you want to put into it.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of crossbow people are hunters, are gun hunters that want to get in the woods sooner, so they jump on a crossbow. And there's nothing wrong with a $300 crossbow.
Lord, no.
But there's a lot of people lately buying the $1,000 to $2,000 crossbows.
Yeah.
But hopefully that helped a little bit. if you're looking, like I say, if you're looking at a particular bow and wondering, I don't know if this is worth a flip, shoot us an email, archeryshack@gmail.com. We'll try to get back to you and let you know something. And it's hard to tell, without us seeing it. We have people come in all the time and say, or they'll have somebody meet them here, and it'll be like a semi-regular customer of ours, and they'll be like, I want to buy this bow. You mind looking it over? And we'll give it a good look over and draw it on the draw board and check it out. And most shops don't mind doing that.
No.
Let them look it over. And the main things we're looking for is the cams are not warped, it hadn't been dry fired, the limbs are not splintered or anything. But want to do a podcast, just talk about the beginner. We get a ton of questions saying, I want to spend $200. I live in Montana. I don't know what to do. Don't have a shop around me. And we kind of tell them what we just told you. Here's a couple models. Here's some ideas. Here's what to look for. So hopefully it helps some folks out. Again, sorry to the higher end archers that we normally talk about fancy stuff with. We'll be back to that again next week. But if you know anybody this could potentially help out, shoot it to them. If you're watching on YouTube, we'd appreciate it if you'd hit the subscribe button. We do all kind of different videos. We do bow tuning, us going to shoots. We do a live feed on Thursday nights and our podcast every week. So we do some giveaways here and there. Hit the subscribe button. Check us out. Give us a thumbs up. Check out our group on Facebook called Friends of the Archery Shack. We try to get in there and chat with folks. And if we can do anything to help you out, look in the description. We got all our contact information. And other than that, I can't think of anything.
Well, let's just leave them. Let's just kind of, what if you were, let's say, this is what we get all the time, is I want a $400 bow, but, I want a package. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Where would you steer? Or what should they be looking for?
Right now, if it was an adult male, actually I'm gonna group it into two. If it was an adult male or female, if they were in here now, I'd probably steer them toward the Bear Cruiser or the Diamond SB1. Either one of those two will cover the whole gamut, the whole poundage, the whole everything.
That's the two I would say too, is the Cruiser G2 and that Diamond SB1. And as a new person to archery, they're super duper adjustable. Yeah. So, but I would still let that shop do any adjustments on it. Mm-hmm. And, they will show you. That's like if you come in, I haven't shot, never shot, want to get into it. Here's this Cruiser G2 I want. Well, after we take it back and put it on the correct draw length, we'll show you how to move that module. But we do not recommend,
especially if you're a new person,
new to archer, we don't recommend, take it to a shop, or if you got a good buddy that.
Yeah, because you wouldn't believe how many people come in that mess up their bows and they're like, well, I read the manual and I thought I was doing it right, and now I got this, and we're like, ooh, you messed those cams up. You're looking, it's going to be, that's a $200 fix, and then they're like, oh, Lord. But
yeah, but, those are the two, Diamond SB1 or the Cruiser G2 would be your best bet overall, around $400.
That's what I think. That's where I'd go. And like I say, if we can answer any questions about it anymore, holler at us. And I guess we'll leave y'all with that.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. We'll see y'all on the next video. I hope everybody's safe and healthy and happy. Until next time. I don't have anything else to say.
Me neither.
I was trying to think of something witty to say. Anyway, we'll see y'all later.
See y'all.
Bye.